Everybody, it is time to have us all together again. Agnes and Dan RadioStyle. Now, personally for me, Agnes Vivarelli, just that one day a month I typically get. It's just like heaven in a bottle, right? If I could spray that all over myself every day, I'm telling you the love that I would feel at all times. But we've got an additional person, someone that's been very involved with our past, this whole success story and things that she's got. It was amazing. A lot of great things have come. And on top of that, we've got 3 certified organic nuts here to talk with you. Jaclyn, give us some information about yourself. What's going on? What's happening?
Hi. So,
you should say hi first.
Major fangirl moment again. Like I'm this is amazing for me. I never, actually I kind of hoped for this maybe about a year ago, and I thought, well, that would be really awesome if I could ever talk to both of you, and it's happening. So yay. I have, shifted my focus. Like my person and I are doing wonderful. I still work on myself daily. I still work on self-love all the time. And, I notice when I'm getting off track, because then that's always the time I don't want to meditate. I don't want to, focus. And it's almost like my ego is throwing a fit. That's kind of something I've noticed, where it's like, I don't want to meditate. No, I don't, because that's what I need to do to fix it. And I don't want to do it. And so I still, even, a year later, I still have things that I have to work through, and it gets better all the time, but you're constantly learning and you're constantly growing, and it's evolving. And so now I'm applying it to other parts of my life.
I agree. I think that's one of the larger challenges that so many of us face, is we think there's some cutoff point, like where you're done with this law of attraction. I'm done learning about law of attraction. I know it completely, top to bottom. I've been to the end of the internet and I've seen every page. It's like, it's that kind of thinking. And it's like, no, forever. It just keeps going, and we get better and better. And I think it's just part of the process. So I think when we forget that, or when we're trying to learn law of attraction in absence of that knowledge, like this, I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to get better and better every single day. 30 years from now, I'm still going to be getting better. I think, Agnes, you've talked about this great quote that you were actually where I heard it first. So I think it was Louis Hay saying something along those lines. I was wondering if you would help me fill in the brain.
Quote?
The quote about how good she was at the end of her.
Yeah, she was still doing about 70% when 70%. She was in her 80s. She said her affirmation was 70%. She was starting to really believe it.
And that's, I think, what's kind of the powerful thing about it is with practice, as we get better, as we work down those avenues, the belief that comes into play, like all these things, and it's really cool. So I'm glad you kind of shared that. You have some website stuff, or podcast or something you started. What's up with that? Here's a decent place to plug that.
Yeah, so I actually started a small podcast. It was really just wanting, I've kind of been doing it anonymously, and I share it with a few people that have emailed me. And it's really just, talking about your beliefs and how to work through things. And there's been a couple times where I've mentioned you two, where you have had a topic on your show, and I've talked about how I got through that and where I am now and how you work through your issues. So I have like 3 different episodes, and I kind of post segments under those. One is like beliefs, and then the longest one is self-love, and then just some other random things. And I don't talk about a lot of.
We got links. we have links below too. I just want to remind everyone that Jaclyn's links are below. Sorry, keep going. Apologize.
Oh no, you're fine. And I also have an email address because a lot of people have been contacting me like personally through Facebook, and I'm like, I appreciate it, but I'm also really not okay with that at this point, just because it is my personal life, and there's a lot that I want to keep private. And so I have an email address. If somebody does want to reach out to me, I don't mind. It's just I keep that. Facebook is just for me and my family and my friends. And so I've kind of developed new ways for people to reach out. Like people were finding me in really random places, and I like even on LinkedIn, like for professional, I'm like, how are you guys finding me here?
Well, so this is a good example to get into something I think that makes a great topic, is when certain things start popping into our worlds, right? Like certain behaviors, certain experiences that we don't like, that we'd like to change, right? Because it's part of, certainly from Agnes and I have had talks about this before. As you grow as a creator in YouTube, for example, you start getting a lot more comments, more emails, a lot more experiences like that. So when you start noticing as your success increases, maybe you're getting more important at your job and you're making more money, right? Like you're expanding your life, and now all of a sudden you've got to deal with new problems. How do you manifest a better reality from this improved place, right? Because it's cool that you're getting all these people asking you questions, right? So, Agnes, what are some of the things you try to do when it comes to improving the situation you're at, looking out ahead, trying to expand even further? Like, what's your next, year and a half plan, 5-year plan? How do you help shift things when you notice there's a behavior that's difficult? How do we cope with those things in our life?
Good question. I think it really is, for me, going back to, firstly, I say no to a lot of stuff. I used to say yes to everything. Now I'm really pinpointed focused on what I'm doing, and I eliminate what I really don't want to do. So I've got this much energy every day, and I go, okay, I'm going to do YouTubes, I'm going to do my coaching, I'm going to do my email coaching, I'm going to make sure that I do my own affirmations, my exercise, I get 8 hours sleep, I do my meditations twice a day for an hour, and then I look at what's left. And I've really simplified things. And I think too, when I'm in London, I've made it a point to not make friends here. I have one friend that I see and another person that I know from a Neville group that we talk Neville, but I have no other friends here, and I've kept it that way on purpose so that I work and then I do my own looking after myself. And that is really, really, really important for me, because I used to say yes to everything and I used to say yes to everybody, and then my energy would go whoosh and then there'd be nothing left.
And that's one of the challenges I think about this whole process is how we frequently utilize energy to help friends of ours. Like a lot of us out there, you have that friend, right, that keeps asking you those questions, keeps asking you every single day, what about this? What about that? Hey, can we hang out? Can we talk? And it starts to become, like you call, I think, an energy vampire, but certainly anything that drains your energy. And those things can be dangerous and damaging. So I was curious, Jaclyn, what do you do when that kind of tends to happen?
I take a step back, and, sometimes, if someone, I can tell if they're emailing me out of like their own anxiety or their own panic, and, several emails in a row, I take a break. I kind of like, okay, well, I'll wait till you're kind of chilled out, and then I'm not in a state of like frustration from it. And then I reply, when I can review everything they've said, and then I'm like, well, okay, so this is where we're going to be. I can tell you panicked. So, in that time, like, it's not going to elicit a response from me because you're panicking and you're emailing me a lot. And it's more out of not teaching a lesson, but kindness, being, I'm not going to feed your anxiety. I'm not going to feed into that because it's going to stress me out, for one. And two, we've got to approach it from a place where you've calmed down and I've calmed down. And I just don't want to do that to myself. And especially like if I'm at work and I've gotten, a lot of emails. And what's hard is when, people, they want help so bad, and you can tell, but they're not willing to do the work, and they want a different answer from me than what they're going to get from you or Dan. And I'm just like, no. It's the same response from me. It's self-love. No matter what, it is self-love all the time, whether it's money or your job or your family, and it's believing you're a priority and putting yourself first. And that neediness, whether it's me or your job or your friends, like, we can feel the neediness when people are just like just machine gunning you with emails. And, some people do it and then they realize, it's just hard. I'm sorry. I kind of got caught up in a moment, and they know they're doing it. And then other times, like, people just keep doing it, and then they start to get mad because you're not answering them. And those people, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help you if you're not, you're not in the right place right now. Like, this is not even healthy for me to try
to help you. Well, that brings up a great point with the whole trying to get your energy to a good place. Sometimes we hit things from an emotional level, and you've got it all typed up, and you're all fired up, and you're like, bah, 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 right? And then all of a sudden, it's crazy what you've got written out. And before you hit send, you need to take a second and go, whoa, chill, whoa. Bring it back a second. Let's think about this before we say, like, there should be an unsend within 10 seconds where you're like, oh my God, no. Oh, geez. Oh, Lord. Because I almost just said something
Email
crazy.
does have that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's been plenty of times where I've even started doing that, even commenting on videos. Sometimes it's like, and then I'm like, and you've just got to get your energy back in line, because it can be, when you get involved with friends and family, sometimes you can get those emotional charges that we have to bring down a notch, I think, before we respond. I don't know what you think about that, Agnes.
Well, I have a basic sort of thing that I do, that when I'm with friends, I've logged off. I've taken the coach hat off. I've taken the help hat off. And if one of my friends needs to talk about something, that's fine. And I just listen. And then I say, you know what? You're smart. You'll work it out.
I'm telling you, you don't wear that hat very often, apparently, because you've got no hat head right now. I don't know if Jaclyn, tell me I'm wrong, but I see no hat head.
No hat head.
Thank you. That's 2 against 1, Agnes. So what's up with this
hat?
Well,
the thing is, once you start doing this sort of work, I mean, do you want to be on 8 hours a day plus then doing it after hours? I personally don't, because I know I need my energy to be totally focused on giving to the people that have requested my services, have paid for the services, and they have the right to have someone who's alert, someone who hasn't drained their energy, and someone who's on top of it. So I try and say, okay, I've got that much energy a day. I only personally deal with 3 people a day face-to-face, because when I've done 4, it's put me in bed and I've been exhausted.
Can't see me. This doesn't count. This doesn't count. You can't see me.
So I know my limits. Everybody's got different limits, but I know when I'm doing, okay, I've got 3 people face-to-face a day. That's my limit to really give properly and totally with focus to those people. The rest I do email coaching during the day. Then I have to do YouTubes. Then I've got 2 or 3 people that subcontract to me. I've got to keep them busy. So I go, okay, that's my 7 hours a day. I try not to do more than 7, sometimes 8. And then I go, okay, I have 2 days off a week. So I really make sure that I keep things out. And the thing that's come to me over and over again, being the eldest child in the family, is I'm there to serve other people that are below me, as in my siblings.
Right.
So I've had to let go of Robin Hood syndrome. I'm not the only answer to someone else's problem. Okay. I know I can help, but in the past, I've smashed myself emotionally from helping people, and I've done it to my own detriment. Now, being the eldest child, I know that doesn't serve me. I know that's a real tendency of mine. I've got to stop doing it, and I've got to pull back and say, I will give this much, and then the rest I need to recharge my battery so that I can work clearly and effectively the next day with concentration and focus. I now know my limits.
Yeah, I would say too, kind of the same. I think we frequently have fun with the stupid phrase out here called work-life balance.
Yeah,
but I find I have the same kind of issue. My computer's just in the other room. Like, my normal job is just right over there, and like my boss thinks I should be attached to this thing 24/7. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So it is that thing, and you've got to kind of have a little bit of balance. All of us have to have a little bit of balance in our life between, those friends that ask for a lot, or the job that asks for a lot, or the kids.
And you got to protect it.
Yeah,
you've got to protect it.
And you've got to make room for yourself. You have to. There has to be a little bit of time, and there's always a little bit of time somewhere that you can give for yourself. And I think it's really, really important for us to remember. Jaclyn, do you have issues? I know you work a normal job like myself, and I'm not saying, Agnes, you're just the one we look forward to being when we finally can just do YouTubes and talk to people and kind of just live off that. So that sounds like a wonderful existence. But that being said, I'm working a job, doing the YouTubes, having fun with it all. What about you, Jaclyn? What do you do to kind of keep that balance?
I mean, I have, an 8 to 5 job, Monday through Friday, and it's very, very intense. I have about 70 clients that I process payroll for. And so I've got, about 2,000 people a month that I'm processing payroll for on a regular basis. And I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of customer service. It's a lot of talking to people. And so, with a lot of phone calls during the day, plus we have live chat on our website that we talk to our clients through that way, and the employees. And I mean, it gets to be overwhelming sometimes. And like, I will come home and I will literally get here, take my dog outside to my apartment, and like, I will sit in my chair, not in the dark, because that's creepy, but like, they're like,
just eyeball the people across the street, like, yeah, I'm looking at you, yeah.
No, but like it'll still be light outside, but there'll be like, I won't turn on lights, I won't turn on my computer, I'll sit my phone down, and I'll just sit and I'll just kind of breathe for a minute and think, oh my gosh, I'm home. I don't have to talk to anybody right now. Like, I've just got to talk to my dog and my cat. Like, I'm okay for a little bit, and like, I just take time to be alone and to turn off the outside world. Like, I won't even turn on TV. I can't tell you how many times I've come home and I've ended up emailing or messaging friends or something like that, but not actually talking. And I've sat for almost an hour and a half or 2 hours, and I haven't even realized, where did the time go? I didn't eat dinner. I didn't go for a run yet. I don't know what I'm doing with my life right now. I just needed to decompress, and I make sure that I shut off. And even if I have emails, it may take me, a day. Like I may respond the next day, depending on how exhausted and drained I am. And it's not out of rudeness. It's just because I literally can't take any more on my plate at that moment. And I'll go to bed at 8 o'clock and tell my dog that we are going to bed early.
I like this really solid communication thing you got going on with your dog. It's like, no, seriously, Abby, I'm going to be going to the store. I'll be back. It's cool. Chill.
I do. I talk to
her. I get it. I knew she had no concept of time, though. It's like, it's soon. Like, I don't even know what that means to it. The dog's like, that's forever to me. Like, you don't even know.
Yeah.
Walk outside, they forget who you are. They're like, oh my God, you're back. You're like, I just literally walked out and came right back. There was no.
Sometimes I take her with me though. She's a trooper. She likes, we go hiking and running, and, her brother, which is, my person's, dog, they are like, they're insane because he's a year and a half old and she's 8 months old. And so they play nonstop and they run nonstop, and I'm like, you guys just go get your energy out. You just do your own thing. I don't have to entertain you right now. You just go play together.
Well, Agnes, you have one of those emotional support giant kangaroos, right? Don't you have one of those that just comes around with you? I'm kidding, of course, people.
I'm about to revisit that animal when I get back to Australia on the 2nd of September.
Oh, you're going back soon.
I am.
Nice, to the land where everything can kill you. Everything.
Scary.
Every insect, every animal, everything is deadly. It's deadly, man.
Yeah.
Live safari.
Yeah. My mom lives in the mountains, and that's where all the nasty things are.
Well, you've told me some stories about some of the crazy spiders, and I want to go there really bad, but I feel like I'd be walking around with a giant net around me, right? Like, probably have to be chainmail.
If you have kind of fears about insects, it's not the country to go to.
No.
Yeah.
Well, insects that can kill me or pick me up and fly away with me. Yeah, I have a concern about these sorts of things. I don't know who wouldn't. You just live there all the time. I don't know if you guys have an alarm or a warning. You hear that noise, and you're like, oh, here comes that.
No, you just look. Honestly, when I first got there 33 years ago, when I first immigrated there, I was living in Sydney, and I remember thinking, okay, I'm in the city. What's going to happen here? And I remember this blue-tongued lizard, and he was literally that long. I was in the city, and I was going to school, and he started running, and I was running, but he was running. He was scared, so he was running towards me, but he was trying to get away from me at the same time.
And not very good at it, apparently, because you don't run towards the thing you're trying to get away from.
Yeah, and the blue-tongued lizard tongue is about that long, so when he sticks it out, it's literally blue, and I would just got there from Canada. I was thinking, what the heck is this?
Canadian people I know don't have these blue tongues. That's crazy. What is this
blue-tongued lizard? So,
running at you, trying to get away from you.
Still my favorite country in the whole world is Australia, even though I move around. I love that country. There's lots of space. There's lots of acceptance. There's lots of beautiful beaches, beautiful spaces. It is still, my heart and my home is still Australia.
That reminds me of something kind of I think all three of us should speak on, and that's kind of what brought us into law of attraction or spirituality or whatever your thing is that you've kind of gone down this path. Like, was there a moment where it just kind of aha'd you and you're like, oh, wow, I got to do this? I think for me, it was when my grandfather passed and I experienced him and I was awake and I wasn't on drugs or anything crazy like that, and had a very weird physical experience where I could see him and he touched. It was just crazy. Like, people could say whatever they want. It's okay. It was an experience I had, but it changed my life. And I think forever from that point, I looked at everything very, very differently. So for me, that was kind of, I think, what started it for me. What about you guys?
Jaclyn?
Well, I went through a pretty tough divorce about 3 years ago, and I had grown up in a Christian household. My dad is Catholic. My mom is Baptist, and I was raised in the Methodist church. Really random.
Right. Be different.
But, you know, so I wasn't what I would call incredibly religious at the time of my divorce. And I did pray, like I did what I'd always been taught to do for comfort. And for me at that time, it felt like it was more of a needy approach, and I didn't get the comfort and relief that you're supposed to get from praying, that you're told that you're supposed to have. And I kind of like shrugged it off for a while, and I stepped away from my beliefs for quite a while. And then, when I met my person and all of this stuff started happening, and, then we split up, and I was like, okay, I need to reevaluate my place and how I feel about religion and spirituality and my connection to the world around me, because everything I've done before now has not worked. It's not working. So I need to do something better that feels good to me. And that's when I started reading about like law of attraction and how your beliefs work. And I was like, okay, so this makes sense for me because I could connect it to things from my religious teaching stuff from my past. And I talked to my parents about it, and I brought my family in on it. And so, like we're all on this law of attraction, manifesting spiritual belief, healing from the inside out train. Wow. And I have my whole family on this, which has really been impactful, because once I started explaining things to them and we watched The Secret together, and I was like, this all makes sense. For things, like our lives, like look at what we've done before, and this is how we've gotten here. And so now for the past year, I've really stepped into more of just different approach to. I've actually say I'm more agnostic and I'm more spiritual, because I believe more in the universe and God as a whole. And not just my version, please people don't be offended, but when you're taught growing up is that God's sitting in a chair with a magnifying glass judging everybody, and you're going to be in trouble all the time no matter what you do. And that's how it was taught to me when I was younger, not necessarily by my parents, but in the churches I attended. And I didn't like that. It didn't feel good, because I was like, you're supposed to believe that the universe and God and the whole world loves you, and it's an unconditional love. How are we supposed to feel unconditional love if the entity is mad at us all the time? Right. And so I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. So I did a lot of reading, a lot of Neville. Abraham Hicks has been very influential for me. Wayne Dyer. There's several people that I've read that I feel like this feels so good, and it's all about love, and it's unconditional love, and it comes from the inside out. And it's not just, you do make choices, and you do have the power to choose what you're doing. And yes, people are you pushed out in the sense that you start attracting that out of other people because of what's going on inside of you. And that's what I think people don't understand is my ex-husband and I, we grew up together, but we were very toxic for one another, because he brought out horrible things in me that I was not that person, and I brought out a very terrible side to him. And, I recently reached a place of very powerful forgiveness for him, which I never thought I would have after the way that our marriage ended. And I really just want him to be happy. I feel it truly within my entire body. I want him to be happy.
Was that part of the whole you turning, like you kind of coming to this law of attraction moment? Was that kind of like when it all just finally locked into place, was when you finally did that forgiveness, or was it?
No, that was recent, actually. That was like a week ago.
Oh, okay.
But it was mostly that I wanted something different. I wanted something that felt good. I wanted something that I felt lost, because I didn't relate to very strict Christianity teachings anymore. I didn't feel like it felt good.
Right. You wanted to try something different.
I wanted something different that was wholesome and I could relate to, and it would be a part of me and I could believe it, right, and not just act as if I believed it.
Totally. So Anya, in your kind of crazy organic way, what kind of led you down this path of I don't know, tranquility and bliss? And I don't know, is it like you for me, like wherever I walk around, it just rains glitter. Everywhere I go, it's just raining glitter all over me, constantly a party, everyone's throwing stuff. I'm sure it's the same for you, right? So of course there's, once you made that jump. No, what was your big magic moment?
I think being totally smashed around work, around money, around relationships, around health, and just knowing that I had absolutely no idea in every single aspect of my life. Right. I think that was definitely the moment where I just thought, you have no idea. You actually have no idea. And admitting it to myself. And then my friend that I'm still friends with, and we do, we have three or four phone calls a week about the law of attraction. She gave me my first book, which was Florence Scovel Shinn's book of, it was 3 books in one, I think, 3 or 4. It had The Game of Life. Oh, okay. It had some other, Your Word is Your Wand. It had these different books.
Oh, yeah, I did. Okay, yeah, I thought.
Yeah,
and books.
At that, it's funny bringing that. They were just, and she was really strong on affirmations, and she was really strong on your word is your wand. So what you say is what you speak is what you get. And I remember thinking, what? I was just so foreign to this kind of thinking. And then that same friend gave me the book, The Law and the Promise by Neville. And that again was all stories of people that had a problem. They did certain things and they got a certain result. So I remember reading that book, The Law and the Promise, and I could not sleep. I was so electrified by reading these stories because it wasn't you're the teacher and I'm the student, you're better than me and I'm less than you. It was just ordinary people sharing ordinary stories. And I read that book and I read it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And I tried to break down the mechanics of how they applied certain things. And that to me was a turning point because I had no idea. I honestly, The Secret came years later. Yeah. This was at the time, it was kind of pre-internet, pre-YouTube, pre-anything. We were going to bookshops and getting books and highlighting. This was 30 years ago.
They had paper and stuff inside of them. It was crazy. Oh my gosh, crazy.
Yeah, paper and words.
It was to touch it and turn it. Like, remember, it wasn't a swipe. There was no swiping, really.
No,
you go like 5 pages if you swiped. It just flicked to you'd be like, where the hell was I? Well, I lost my page.
But at that time, I'd had 5 relationships. The 5th one being my marriage. Very similar to Jaclyn. I got married. We brought out the absolute worst in each other. I had such a strong, I'm second best, I'm insecure, I'm needy, I'm thinking that you're my source of love and you're not giving it to me. Holy S and F. I don't know what to do. So it ended up that I had to learn that my projections and my thoughts, feelings, and beliefs were going out and creating certain things. And I had no concept of that at that time, 30 years ago. I honestly had absolutely no idea. Even though I grew up with a mum that had Louise Hay, I kind of related Louise Hay to health. I related Louise Hay to affirmations. So I would do that stuff for that area, but it was like all the other areas of my life, really, I wasn't applying anything to because I didn't get it.
You bring up something really awesome. And I just thought of one of my viewers, and it's a viewer that I think speaks for a larger population of people, but it is kind of around the concept of health, right? I feel like there's kind of a couple forks in this whole life thing, right? And what do we do is that just something you manifest to, or do you manifest time for it? I was just curious, for me, it's I know I've been traveling a bit lately with work, so it's been hard for me to get in some sort of routine, but I kind of just recently said, screw it, when I'm home, I'm going to make sure I get down to the gym at least 3 days a week, right? And I'm going to just do it and make sure it happens. Do you guys worry about that at all? You're like, nah, I don't care about health. I just know I'll be fine because I'm magical in my thought process, which is actually probably, good enough to some degree. I don't know. Just curious what your guys' thoughts are on the whole concept.
Jaclyn, you go with that.
So, well, okay, for health and beliefs and things like that. I work in a very large company. I work in a very large building, and everybody has children. And then their little ones get sick. They come to work and they're sick. And this last flu season, everyone around me was sick with the flu, strep throat, like they had all these horrible things going on. And every single day I walked into work with the affirmation of, I am always healthy. I am always healthy. I am always healthy. I am strong. And, so that became part of my routine in my life. Like I incorporated that into every conversation when people were talking about how sick they were and they were like, you haven't caught it yet. And I was like, nope, I'm always healthy. And I took very good care of myself this whole entire winter, and I made my health a priority. And I was like, I've never used affirmations for my health before, but I noticed that all the people that always talked about how sick they were all the time were the people that kept getting sick. And I was like, I'm going to try this. So I incorporated it into every part of my life. Like conversations, the food I ate, I drank, immune supporting tea, and I just talked about myself in a very loving way all winter long. And I will say I never caught one single cold. I had people sitting next to me with strep, and I sit in cubicle area. So, I mean, if people are sick, it's rampant. Yeah. Not one sore throat, not one cough, sneeze, nothing. All winter. Probably lots of hiccups. I do get the hiccups often.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure. I know they're not necessarily contagious, but I just wanted to get a full rundown.
I think they're contagious. They have to be.
Okay, just checking, making sure.
But really, I incorporated it into my entire life. And when I talked about myself, I talked about myself in a loving way about my health. And I used to, I played sports all growing up into college, basketball, volleyball. I've trained horses since I was very little. I've beaten my body up. Oh. I do not feel 31. I feel my body generally, I feel much older than 31 because of the sports I've played. And I started talking very lovingly about my body instead of being like, I crack and pop like a box of Rice Krispies. Like
Sorry, that just reminds me of getting out of bed.
Yes, literally. I go to kneel down and you hear my knee and it's like this horrible noise. And I started talking about myself in a very loving way. I never ever thought about incorporating health into law of attraction, and I was like, but this makes sense. It works for everything else. We got to talk about ourselves like we're healthy. And I don't have migraines really now. I've only had one, and I think it was due to allergies.
So it sounds like
terrible.
A lot of this kind of thought process and sort of changing your whole thinking around health has really altered
everything.
Everything. So that's just something good for people to continue or think about out there. Now, I know in the case of Agnes, now a lot of people don't know this because she doesn't typically talk about it, but she happens to be a cage fighter. She's one of the fiercest competitors in the circuit, from what I understand. People are afraid to even mention your name in mixed circles, from what I understand, for the fear of your wrath. But what else do you do for health and wealth and well-being? Sorry, health and well-being. Sorry. Did I stretch it a hair on that, maybe? I don't know. Maybe you're not a cage fighter. Was that where I missed the boat? I'm sorry. Might have confused you with someone else.
You take things on a tangent.
Right? You just never know where the train's
you never know.
The station's back there, mate. Like, where the frick are you going? But yeah.
I'm going to redirect this because there is something that Jaclyn actually emailed me about a saddle that was so astounding, amazing. Would you be willing to share that, Jaclyn?
Yeah. Okay, so most of you guys know that I grew up on a very large farm. Horses have been my life since I was about 2. I still ride. I still compete every now and then. So anyway, my horse now I've had for 12 years. And she, the saddle I had just wasn't really fitting her, and I didn't want her to be uncomfortable while we were riding. And I mean, this is something that's very important. Like, people that don't know, your saddles actually have to fit your horse because it's just like people. Horses are made different. Their bodies are shaped different. So you have to have stuff that fits. And I had a saddle that I actually sold on eBay about 10 years ago. I just needed some extra cash. I wasn't using it. And about a year ago, I got on eBay and I I actually found the person I sold it to. Like, I found her seller rate or her buyer rating on me. I emailed her and I was like, hey, do you happen to still have this saddle? And she was like, no, I sold it to a friend. I don't know if she'll want to sell it back. Never heard anything else. And then one day I got on eBay. I thought, well, I might as well try to find it again. Just casually browsing. I searched for it and I found it. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this really mine? And it was. And I knew because it had markings on it that I had done when I had it. And very distinct, could not miss it. And I thought, oh my gosh, this would be so great if I could have it. I sent screenshots to, my family. I was like, look what I found. And I literally just had good memories of it because it was super comfortable to ride and compete in. And I thought, I just really wish I wouldn't have sold it. I wish I had it back. But if I don't get it back, it's fine. I'll just find another one. Not a big deal. Well, a week goes by, and I was on Facebook in a buy and sell group. And there was about 30,000 people that are in this group. So that just lets you know how many people are buying and selling horse stuff in just one group.
Wow.
And I had my saddle up for sale because I wanted to sell it to buy the other one back and I saw that the ad had ended on eBay and all that. So I posted my saddle and randomly this girl commented that she wanted to follow my ad. And I thought, I was like, well, I'm up for trades, depending on what you have. And she replied with a comment that was the screenshot from the eBay ad with the saddle that was actually mine from 10 years ago.
That's awesome.
That is
Small world, right?
mind-blowingly incredible.
Yeah, and I thought, this is a joke. What just happened? I literally couldn't even function for a second to reply because I couldn't believe what had just happened. And I said, are you serious? Like, really, that's what you have for trade? And she's like, yeah, I tried to sell it, on eBay and I didn't get anybody to buy it. And, I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, yes, I will trade you. Yes. And so she sent me more photos and it was my exact saddle from 10 years ago. And it was a saddle I'd seen on eBay, and I didn't comment on the ad on eBay because I was there. I didn't follow it. There's no way she could have traced me to Facebook. There's no way she could have linked that. And out of all of the ads and photos on Facebook in this group, she found my saddle, commented on mine, and we made the switch. And I kept telling myself, I'm going to get this for free. I'm going to get this for free. All we did was pay for each other's shipping, to send my saddle to Ohio and her saddle here. And, my parents that day, gave me a gift of cash just because they were like, here, we want to, buy your groceries and stuff like that. And that actually ended up paying for my cost to ship my saddle to Ohio. So I did get it completely for free.
Wow.
Wow.
By the way, that reminds me really quickly of one thing. I'm sorry, I just had to interject this because I think it's a cool thing for people out in the audience to remember is the lady that was trying to sell the saddle on eBay, your saddle, right? She was trying to sell it on eBay. Mm-hmm. So from a law of attractive perspective, some of us out there trying to do things, and she tried to sell it and she failed, right? She failed, never sold it on eBay, but there was immediately a different way. And sometimes I think we get so stuck on specific paths that we forget that the universe can provide things in any number of directions.
Absolutely. Like that is so, the thing is we limit ourselves because we're like, well, I have to make money from my job. This 8 to 5 job is the only way I can make money, or this car dealership is the only place I can get this, or this store, or this person. And you limit yourself so much. And Agnes and I had a conversation about that regarding money, when I had coaching with her about how like you limit yourself by thinking like I can only earn money through my job, and you have to be open to it coming from any source. And when I was thinking about this saddle with love, I know it sounds so crazy, but horse people will get me. Like I was thinking about this and I was like, man, if I don't get it, it's fine. But if I do, that's great. And I never said it has to come from eBay or it has to come from Facebook. And I'd been looking on Facebook, never saw it. And it just happened to work out exactly the way it was supposed to. And I got it completely for free. And it was exactly everything I wanted. And I almost cried when I opened the box. Like I just couldn't believe how it had happened.
That is such an amazing story.
And that was 1 out of 30,000?
Yeah. There were 30,000 people in the Facebook group. And I know how great. This is so great.
It's so great. It's like it just gives you that evidence that the universe is everything.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
It's so, and I don't know if I told you about it, Agnes, but I think I did. And I told Dan about my record player that I got. So
or 40,
my grandfather, 30. My grandfather had like this giant console record player, and I loved it. And he had these records from like the 40s when he was in World War II, and they're like Hawaiian music even, like that he got in Hawaii. And so I love these records. Like I treasure them. And I wanted a new record player, but I didn't want to go buy one from like Target or Walmart. I wanted a big stereo. And I had been thinking about it. I looked on Facebook again in the garage sale sites, and it was like $200, $150. And I was like, I'm not gonna, no, I don't want to do that. So I just thought about, how great it would be if I could just find one for free. I literally walked downstairs a week later out of my apartment, and it was downstairs by my door.
Nice.
Somebody was getting rid of it. Just throwing it away, and it works perfect.
You just walk outside, and you're like, record player, the one I want. Thanks, universe.
Exactly.
I guess that is falling into your lap. I keep telling people that's probably not, it's going to get you close to it, but yeah, no, that sounds pretty much like it fell into your, it was like, I couldn't get out of my door. I had to move this thing. That's awesome.
Well, it was really great, and I texted my parents, and I was like, Mom, Dad, get here. I need help carrying it up the stairs.
That is incredible. Well, ladies, we're kind of heading towards, I think, the end. Is there any final thoughts, any final plugs that you want to talk about? You can talk at
really, I mean, something that Agnes, said, and like you've always said, is it doesn't ever, just because you get your person or you get the money or you get whatever thing it is that you're trying to get to, it doesn't end there. Like the work still has to be done. And I think a lot of people get really caught up in, well, I did this, so it's over, right? Like I got my person, it's over, right? And I, my person and I, we work on our relationship every day. And there's been things recently that have come up because there was growth I still needed, that I needed to step out of my comfort zone and approach him with, because it was time. And there's timing for everything. And I think a lot of people want to rush. And if you would have told me, like a year ago, it's going to take you a year, Jaclyn, to get to where you want to be, I may not have wanted to do it. But because I've been in the process of it, it's been so much growth that I look back and I'm like, I had to go through every step of it. And so many people are like, well, Jaclyn, I think you could have gotten your person faster had you done this. I think you could have healed yourself if you would have done this. And that's not what this is about.
No.
It's still not what this is about. And everybody wants a quick fix because we live in a world of instant gratification.
Yeah.
And I think that there's so much that people don't understand, that they don't want to do the work because it's uncomfortable and it's unpleasant sometimes. Like you don't want to fix your issues, and they don't want to do the work. They want to just, Band-Aid it with another person, and it just doesn't work that way. So, and even when people approach me, they're like, Jaclyn, how do I do this faster? Is it really going to take that long? How quick can I do this? And I'm like, well, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about self-love. Yeah. So I go back. I'm like, you're not getting away from that. Like we're going back to it.
Yeah.
And I really think people, they want to put a timeline on things, and it just doesn't work that way. And the work is continuous.
Well, if I can get a bag of popcorn in 3.5 minutes in the microwave, then why should manifesting take any longer?
That's why
because
Dan.
I was wondering how I should be able to get it in like 4 minutes, maybe. I'll give you some extra time.
Let's put it this way: you know that popcorn's going to pop no matter what when you put it in the microwave. You know it is, and a lot of other people. Well,
I know it's a good analogy. I'm sorry, that's a great analogy.
But I mean, really, like people, you know that popcorn's going to pop, so of course it's not a problem. But all these people, they have all these doubts and beliefs that are in the way, so yeah, that's why it takes longer.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's not
to totally go with the analogy even a step further, just for the hell of it. In the stem, you had like thousands of kernels in there, and like most of them popped. That's pretty freaking awesome, right? Let's stop looking at the ones, this didn't pop, this didn't pop. Yeah, but you got a bowl full of what did pop. Don't worry about that. Right? Like we focus on the ones that didn't pop. Yeah. So it's like, come on, focus. See, I can turn that frown upside down. Watch, girl.
Yeah. That's so true. I think
No.
The more you do law of attraction, the more you do self-love, the more you understand everyone's you pushed out, the more you understand living in the end from Neville, the more you understand that slowing everything down is the way to create. It's not about speed and getting over there. It's about slowing it down and really just getting to the point where you no longer need to get over there. That's the whole thing. You no longer have to get over there. It's here, it's here, it's here. And that whole thing about the Wizard of Oz, where they were on their journey and they went to the wizard and then they found out he was a total charlatan. He wasn't even real. No. And that along the journey, they developed courage. They developed, every single one of them, the characters developed certain aspects that they felt that they didn't have and they were trying to get to the wizard to get. It's the same thing with what we're doing. You have to understand that everything is within you. The love is within you. The success is within you. The love is within you. The subtle, amazing connection with one random person out of 30,000 people is within you. You just have to live from connecting with the end result, and you got to stop defending your damn limitations. Stop defending it.
Amen, girl. Hallelujah.
It doesn't you're wasting effing time.
I love you.
Defending the limitations when you could spend that 30 minutes, that half an hour, that hour, that 2 hours, that 3 hours, that half a day, living from the end result, and then that time is actually going forth and bringing that thing into you because you've projected the right thing and you have then spent time creating rather than reacting.
Right.
And this is the thing that, like Jaclyn said, the self-love is the most important thing. Remembering everyone as you pushed out is the most important thing. Living from the end is the most important thing. You know what? If you could remember those three things, they're the three legs of the stool that are the most important thing, then you would just balance out and you would stop trying to get, because this whole obsession about I got to get love, I got to get money, I got to get time, I got to get my saddle, I got to get this, I got to get that. All that stuff is a waste of time and you will never get time back. So spend your time mentally wisely by living in the state of what you want and stop trying to get. Yeah. And I know we've said it a million times, but trying to get is a sickness of the mind.
Stop
it's a
trying
sickness.
To try. That's really
trying to try. Stop trying to get. Stop trying to get
other. It's the trying
people
that actually is the problem. It's the fact that I'm trying because I don't have it. I keep noticing I don't have it, so I try, and I try harder because I don't have it still. Yeah. So I try again, and I still don't have it. I keep noticing I don't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
and
Dan,
I hear that a million times a month. I try so hard. Well, there's the problem. You try so hard. You have not understood surrender. You have not understood allowing. You have not understood that it's about giving and then it comes back as a photocopy. The sickness that we have in the Western world and in the world in general is about trying to get. That's the whole damn problem, is the getting attitude.
Especially in the Western world, we're really so geared that way. It's unfortunate.
Everything takes work, and if you're not working hard, then you're not trying.
Well, and you gotta get everything too, and I gotta get the newest thing. It's stupid.
I have to have it.
And you know what? That comes from our parents' generation. It comes from our grandparents' generation. Their bumper sticker is, I have to work hard. And you know what? In this generation, it's I have to work smart. And you drop that I have to work hard, because that is a waste of damn energy.
It so is. And people talking about what they don't want. I hear so many people, they sit there and all they do is talk about, well, I don't want this to happen, or I don't want this to happen, and this was my bad day. And sometimes, if you vent for a minute and you get it out of your system and you're like, okay, reset button, focus. But they don't just stop after that quick little reset button. They keep going. And you're like, well, no wonder that your life is starting to suck and it snowballs. Don't talk about the snowball. Don't talk about the bad things over and over. Yeah, this happened, but this is what I'm doing to fix it, and I'm back on track. Like, you don't live there. You can't live there.
And like I've said to others before too, if you're hanging out with people and 4 out of 5 of your friends are constantly talking about how badly life sucks, I'm betting you're probably somewhat in that circle too. So it's good sometimes to look at who's around you and what they're talking about and what they believe.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, Abraham, I have a friend that she says, oh, you go, how are you? And she goes, yeah, I'm okay, but this. And I go, okay, you've got 17 seconds.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I can turn it around.
17 seconds, and then you loop around. I want to hear what you want. I want to hear how you're focusing on that. I want to hear how you're dropping your obsession with defending your damn limitations, because you are wasting time getting to where you need and want to go. If you are doing that, and that is a repetitive, habitual, negative thought pattern, are you willing to let it go?
I agree, and I think that's something that scares a lot of people. It's breaking away from what everyone else does. And I think to a lot of it, there's that groupthink mentality, right? And we get stuck in those places where everybody else is not believing what you're saying, and they're asking me what's wrong with me and if I'm crazy. And it's one of those things where when you actually try it and start to experience it, it answers itself. It's not, it's not snake oil. You actually see things happen in your life, and you can call them coincidences. You can call them whatever you want. But
okay, I want to ask something. Okay. What is snake oil?
Snake oil is a phrase so back in the olden days, like pharmacy trucks would go around and they would sell like crazy pharmacy, but it would just be like supposedly like oil from nasty whatever, and it was just something that was worthless and wasn't actually medicine.
Make you hallucinate, probably,
if you had the right kind of snake oil.
You know what, Dan? Yeah. I'm going to Google what is snake oil.
Look it up.
This interview, because that is something I can't say I've ever researched.
I've never heard snake oil. That's pretty cool. Well, ladies, I think we should probably cut it. We're getting pretty close on the long side, and I think this has been really awesome, and we need to do this again for sure.
Yes.
So, Jaclyn, thank you, and we'll have links underneath.
Hopping in, it is just, look, you and I and Dan, we have a connection. We have cross paths, and your sales story is extremely inspiring to me. I think it is fabulous. It just shows the universe hears everything.
And there's a success story you shared with us eons ago, and I'll probably try to dig up that and link that story from way back when. It was pretty cool when you first kind of made a big transition. So, hey, you've been a part of Agnes and Mai's world for quite a while now, actually. So cool.
Yeah, I have, and
I'm just gushing. I couldn't believe I finally got to meet you, Jaclyn. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
That's literally me on the inside, like, all the time. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And I think back, like when Dan and I first started watching you, I think you had like 300 followers.
Maybe.
Exactly.
And Agnes had like under 3,000 maybe.
Yeah, he's so small then. Little Agnes.
Well, but I think about that and I'm like, holy cow, they're growing. I love this so much. And I've always wanted to do this. I didn't know if you guys would ever invite me. And so this is kind of like
hold it forth, because Dan said to me, what about Jaclyn? You know her, I know her. And I said, great idea. Like, you manifested us asking you. So well done.
I was trying to get a saddle out of the deal, but let's just say that didn't work.
I mean, if you're ever in Oklahoma, Dan, like, we will meet up. We'll say hi. I will try to not like faint.
We'll see. We'll get out there and we'll do something like that. Shoot, y'all, we can do that for sure. Yeah, I reckon so.
It's so great, And one last thing, people on vision boards. I noticed this the other day. I started to make a vision board last summer, and I find these random journals that I've got, like where I would start writing affirmations down, and I kind of read back through it, like where I was. But like everything on my vision board has actually come to pass now. Nice. And so it's actually brilliant. My apartment, my dog, my golden retriever. And then of course, my person and I, like we've worked everything out, and we're doing amazing. We're making plans for the future, and, just all of these things that I put on there. So like what you focus on, even if it's in the back of your mind, it's still, it's still there. And like YouTube, both, like I watch your videos. You guys got me through like some of the very darkest moments when I wanted to give up and I was struggling. I never doubted my person and I, but it was my own beliefs about myself that was so hard. And so like you two were like my breakfast, like both of you in the morning. I was like, all right, what new video do they have posted already today? And so, it really helped get me through, and like the focus of that. And so doing this, when you invited me, I was just like, this is a dream come true. I've been waiting for this. So if you guys ever want to have me back, I would love to.
Well, I'm very happy we were able to do this. Continued. Yes, to be continued for sure. Yes. Well, from 3 wonderful certified organic nuts, I think we've done a great job. Covered some really cool stuff. So thank you all.
Yeah, what a great.
Thank you.
You know, this to me is it. It's that connection. It's that learning. It's that exchanging of ideas, and it's that really just being on par with knowledge and really sharing it so people can take it forward and extend it out. It's pay it forward. It's a real pay it forward.
Is. You're right. And there's kind of an energy that lives on even afterwards, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
By the way, I think now's maybe a good time to tease it. I know we're maybe a little ways off, but I can foresee, and we've talked about this, maybe doing either a live group one with you and I where we could actually take other people, but 2, maybe doing a live or a recorded multi-person session. So we've talked about a few things, and I think something like that is certainly bound to happen, much like this video here. So it'd be fun to do some live stuff too together.
Now, something popped into my random head as we've just been talking about this. Before we sign off, Neville talked about the ladder exercise, where you talk about, I'm not going to climb a ladder. I'm not going to climb a ladder. I'm not going to climb a ladder. Now, I'm going to post that link down below because for people that don't know what that means, it will explain it. But Neville basically said, I want you to, for a week, put Post-it notes around your flat and say, I'm not going to climb a ladder. I'm not going to climb a ladder. I'm not going to climb a ladder. Those of you that actually do climb a ladder within a certain time frame, which was I think about a week if I remember it correctly, please meet me in this particular location and we will talk about what happened. Now, in that exercise, many people kept affirming, I don't climb a ladder, I don't climb a ladder, I don't climb a ladder, and they sent Neville stories of where they did climb a ladder. Now, if we understand the whole premise of the universe is a focus-based universe. So what you actually state, whether you say not or not, you don't use the word not, it's the focus on the ladder that creates the experience. So the ladder thing was fine, but what about if you said, I actually manifest the most amazing relationship I've ever had, the most amazing job I've ever had, the most amazing amount of money I've ever had, and you replace the ladder with something that's actually very significant, because the ladder was actually very irrelevant. It was just used as an example. So why I'm bringing this up is because the focus is the most important thing. Let go of defending your limitations. He doesn't love me. I don't have enough money. Why is it that I've got this health condition? I'm not living where I want to live. I'm not free. Let it go. Yeah. Literally make a decision where you go, you know what? That time where I'm focusing on that stuff is wasted. Let it go. Focus on what you want and go for it. And the ladder is only a very 1% of what you could imagine. It could be the most amazing relationship you've ever had. It could be the most incredible amount of freedom you've ever had. It could be the most satisfying life you've ever had. Focus it on what you really want. Use your mind to help you to create, and stop wasting all this time with all this rubbish that is useless, because you never get that time back. You never, ever get that time back. Your time is your most valuable commodity of all. It's not the money. It's not the men. It's not the women. It's not the relationship. It's not the job. It's the time. The time is the most important thing. Use it wisely, because you're going to drop dead at some point and you will never get this back. Use it to the best of your ability by having pinpointed focus on what you want, and go for it, and stop the damn waste of time. that's what I want to say today, because I see this again and again and again. Via coaching, via YouTube comments, over and over and over, this wastage of time. Use that time with what you want, because that is something that is of value to you. Do it, because it is the best thing you can do if you really want to support yourself and getting to where you want to be.
Like Neville said,
it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what sex you are. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what culture you are. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter where you damn well live. Use that time and focus, because the focus and the concentration is the most important thing of all.
Like Goddard says, right? If we understood how powerful our thoughts or our focus was, we'd be constantly pruning our thoughts, because there's a lot of times.
Years of revision. Yes, Dan. And that
I love pruning.
Continued for our next
absolutely. The next show.
session.
Well, ladies, this has been fun, and we will do this again for sure. I just wanted to thank you once again, and thank you all for joining us on this wonderful adventure. It's been a good show. I think we covered a lot of good topics. Thanks, ladies.
This was awesome. And Jaclyn, thank you for joining us, because it brought out a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
so thank you for coming in and being... Look, I personally am really inspired by your saddle story. I think that is awesome. It is amazing. And it is just the evidence of what conscious creation can be.
Oh, thank you. I know it's so simple, and people would be like, well, it's not a house or a car, but it's so amazing how fast it happened, and I'm getting to where I can manifest things in about a week's time or less. Yeah. And a week to 3 to 5 days, somewhere in there, I'm able to bring things into my reality, and so it's getting more and more fun for me to see what is coming. And it's stuff that I never expected, and I noticed that it is always the things that I think about with pure joy or pure love or pure just happiness, no reservations. And here it comes, because when when I don't stress over it, I'm just like, it'd be great if I had it. Okay, there it is.
There it is. There you go.
Thank you, everybody.
What an
Thanks, guys.
bloody interview. I just have to say that was awesome.
I agree.